Bleach episode 11 reveals a lot about Ichigo that we didn't know before, and I absolutely love that it went into a flashback to see where he got his personality. This week's episode covered 5.5 manga chapters from chapter 528 to about half of 533. In all, that was roughly about 95 pages with 501 panels. So let's see which have been adapted and what has been shot right out of the sky. We start out the episode back with Renji and Uetsu. This would be chapter 529. We would skip out a few panels of Uetsu's explanation to Renji of why Ichigo wasn't able to complete his training in the same method he did before the opening sequence would show. The first part of this episode would only adapt the first 4 pages of chapter 529 in a condensed method, right before the episode would begin. And we open up with Ichigo walking to the front of his family clinic. This is chapter 528, titled the same as the episode, Everything But the Rain. The episode removes some of the panels where Ichigo realizes that he's in his human form and starts shouting for Urahara. This is where his father heard him and came out. But in the anime, we simply skip to his father coming outside and then Ichigo running off. We skip ahead to when Ichigo is in the shower, thinking to himself, how would he face his family now that he has been kicked out of the Soul Society? This scene was continued a bit more in the manga, showing Ichigo's dad, Orihime, and Chad. Same would be for the next few panels where Ikumi tells Ichigo that she's dried his clothes. In the anime, we just skip right to when she gets up in his face. And for some reason, when she headbutts him, it looks a little bit more like it would hurt, or that it was more forceful in the manga than in the anime. But after the headbutt, we get some more skipped content where Ichigo comments on her age and then she drop kicks him. After this scene, they patch things up and Ichigo's dad makes his way in. The anime shows us just Ichigo leaving right away, but in the manga, Ikumi gave him an umbrella. I'm guessing the anime wanted to highlight him leaving his soul pass behind. So now Ichigo is back home with his dad, and a few comedic panels have been removed from this scene as well. Primarily that of Ishin making a joke about fixing Ichigo some food. Then after that, we jump right back into a serious air. I'm guessing that's why the animators decided to skip this scene, because it really didn't make any sense for it to be serious, then comedic, then back to serious once more. It's now time for Ichigo to learn about his past, and in a flashback, we get to hear his mother saying that she is a Quincy. A few panels here have been skipped, of course, mainly that of the dialogue of Ishin being a captain having to be rescued by a girl. This would actually be the end of the chapter and weirdly the halfway point, or rather the mid-scene of the anime. Once we're back, we skip the first 5 pages of chapter 529, titled Everything But the Rain, OP2, The Rudiments. We are back in the Soul Society a few years ago, and Rangiku is searching for her captain, and wouldn't you know it, Ichigo's dad, Ishin Shiba, would be the captain for the 10th Division. In the anime, we see Rangiku kicking the tree and revealing that he was there hiding. He didn't want to do all that work. I feel you there, Captain. A lot of things were actually changed in this scene. In the manga, she got a clay dish and tossed it in the tree, which smacked him in the face and he fell out. Furthermore, we skip this page. Banter between them where he comments on how much work he's getting and her boobs glistening. They do get into a fight after that because, sir, that's workplace harassment. We skip showing his face beaten to a pulp, which serves him right. And little Toshiro has a report for the captain. But Ishin is too preoccupied with finding out where did his dumplings go. Toshiro keeps changing the topic. Of course, the anime had this scene much more streamlined with him owning up to eating the dumplings a bit earlier before the captain rushes off after finding out something. The only panel I saw missing here was this one. The next scenes with Aizen and the boys, nothing really changed except the usual dialogue. And when Aizen says, everything is in the palm of our hands, this is where the chapter would end. Chapter 530, Everything But the Rain, OP3, Dark of the Moon, would begin with us having an overlook of Naruki City and its moon. Our first deviation would be seen a couple pages down when Izumi asks Masaki about school. In the anime, they skip right ahead to holy training, but in the manga, Masaki comments on the cabbage and pickles in the cafeteria, which I found funny. Now, instead of being blown away by Izumi's words, the anime shows us Masaki with a more sincere look across her face. We also skip her saying that the food was delicious. The anime skips when Izumi says that she will get the Katagiri to prepare dinner. Instead, she just leaves. There are a few panels of Masaki saying that she's heading to her room that were also skipped. What we do see is her commenting on the food and then heading off. Within the next scene, the anime chooses to skip the dialogue of Kene. By the way, Katagiri is a title and not a name. Anyways, if you're also wondering what Quincy are, they're simply purebloods. Moving right along, we head over to where Ishin is trying to smoke out the hollow. He powers up, and when the hollow shows its face, this would be the end of chapter 530. Chapter 531, titled Everything But the Rain, OP4, Dark of the Bleeding Moon, begins with Ishin facing off with a black hollow named White. A deviation from the manga panel is when Ishin is attacked. In the chapter, he drew his sword, but it cuts away to Aizen. In the anime, he isn't seen drawing his sword just yet, but then it cuts away to Masaki. It also has some cut content of Aizen first watching the fight. Skipping ahead, Ryu confronts Masaki, and Gemix means mixed breeds, just in case you were lost. When it switches back to Ishin, we skip the panel of him skating across the screen and go right ahead to when White clashes blades with him. The next few panels were rearranged. This would be of Masaki running off. In the manga, it shows her running off first, stopping, and then saying what she needs to say, and then it cuts away. In the anime, she said what she needed to say and then ran off, which makes a lot more sense if you think about it. Back to Ishin and White, the fight progresses pretty much the same until he gets slashed in the back by Aizen. This is where the chapter would end. Chapter 532, titled Everything But the Rain OP5, The White Noise, begins with an explanation of the black cloaks that Aizen and the boys are wearing. It was Urahara who created these cloaks to mask one's presence and spiritual pressure. Of course, the anime skips this, and it just shows Ishin falling after getting slashed. Once he hits the ground, a few panels were skipped, which includes Gin's comments, Ishin shouting to the sky, and Aizen monologuing about Ishin's Bankai being disabled. Oh yeah, Tozen was saying something too, right? Skip. We just get a voiceover of Aizen saying how ironic it is that the Hollow is named White. The anime also skips over Ishin's wound spraying blood when White attacks him, and goes right into when he steps on White's claws. We skip the panel where Ishin realizes that he's too injured to use his Bankai, and then Ishin pulls off an amazing fire attack that declaws this beast. This is where Masaki would join the fight. The anime and manga would pretty much follow the same path until it ends with Masaki shooting the Hollow in the head. Just in case you were wondering about this scene, she used Blood Veen, hence why she wasn't injured. The final chapter to be adapted in this episode would be chapter 533, titled Everything But the Rain OP6, The Gravitation. This would begin with Masaki shooting the Hollow's head. We skip a few panels of Aizen and crew reacting to the blast and head right into Masaki running towards Ishin. The only panel here I saw missing was that of a slight flashback showing Ryu and his mom when Masaki hesitated to tell Ishin that she was a Quincy. Everything else pretty much follows the manga to the T, and we actually end off the episode halfway through chapter 533. Now, this would leave about 7 pages, which I assume would be adapted for the next episode. At the end of the episode, we do get an exclusive shot of Uryu meeting Hashwag, and this is where the anime episode would actually be over. A pretty great episode, no complaints here, so let's just jump into the numbers and see what was adapted. Bleach, episode 11, covered 5.5 manga chapters, with each having an average of 15 pages, all adding up to 95 pages in all, each having an average of around 83.5 panels, all adding up to 501 panels, with 104 of those being unique or not adapted. This means that only 397 panels were adapted, which gives us a split of roughly 79.25% to 20.75%, which isn't bad to say the least. It's certainly low for what's usually been adapted, but I can work with that just the same. So many revelations for this Bleach episode. I'm beginning to wonder what's not been planned out or something, because this is just too good. Can't wait to see the extended episode. That is going to be a beefy one and probably going to take a few extra days to get that particular video out, but I'll definitely have it out for you guys. Anyways, if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. I've been your host, Kyle. Peace out and stay safe out there, V Nation.